Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video I want to talk about should you recruit for Harak when he comes out to global server. So he will be coming to us probably 7 hours after reset on November 21st. So basically 7 AM UTC time, November 21st. That is the plan because that's when the patch 1.2.3 maintenance will be scheduled and he will be added after that. So I believe we won't have him right after reset. And for Harak, the first thing I want to talk about is his Dream Realm potential and usage, because for a lot of people, the heroes that they invest in, especially for Hypergene Celestials, it is with a Dream Realm focus, because for PvP there are a lot of good options for Hypergene Celestials, but like the number one priority for a lot of people is Dream Realm. Now for Dream Realm, Harak has been shown to be amazing in the Skyclaw's Dream Realm boss, in part due to the summons, which helped him get his stacks quicker. Now for King Croaker today, I tried a lot of different team versions. I wasn't able to come up with a team that was good enough and even coming close to the overall best team now with Ludovic, because the thing is now Harak is competing against some really crazy damage dealers now thanks to Mythic Plus Charms. Ludovic with skill power is hitting so hard in King Croaker, and I think he's going to be used in other bosses as well. And Lily May with her skill power sorcery charms is also being taken to another level. Harak is basically competing with them for a slot onto the team. And definitely, I'm sure there are going to be some teams which are designed, which will take advantage of Harak. And I think he probably will be used in a couple more bosses outside of just Skyclops, which is already a pretty good reason to be recruiting for him. Even if he's the top tier option in 3 or maybe 4 of the endless bosses, that would be great. But that's just something to keep in mind. He's not going to be basically as dominant as Phraesto, who is used in every Dream Realm boss. And also the thing about Harak is you cannot replace Phraesto in a team with him. It's going to be really important if you're using Harak to have Phraesto there as well, because he can get one of his Devour stacks off onto the Phraesto illusion, and that is going to ramp him up. And now we've seen basically the problem is Harak's Flesh Feast Devour onto Talene. It will not give him, it will not count as a kill for him. So he's not going to gain this growth stack, these bonus stats, and he's not going to gain the 2 kills needed, or 2 units defeated, in order to get this 700 energy recovered every time he casts Vicious Bite. And if he's not getting this 700 energy back after casting Vicious Bite, his damage is just too low for Dream Realm bosses, because the thing is, all of his damage come for Dream Realm bosses, endless bosses, majority of the damage, like 90% of it, comes from this HP per second damage, 40% of his attack. And this can only be, it will last for 6 seconds after casting his ultimate. So he needs this energy recovery to basically continuously be able to cast his ultimate over the course of the fight. And if he's not getting the 700 energy back, he's just not going to have high enough damage compared to the other damage options. And this comes to another really important point. It has never been the case that a hero is not really usable in Dream Realm before they get to Supreme Plus. Like Phraesto, Talene, they can work just fine at Supreme, at Mythic Plus. Obviously, their stats are lower, so their damage is lower. Harak, the thing is, without his Supreme Plus, it's not just for the stats, it's for this energy recovery. If you cannot feed him 2 kills to activate this effect, and if you do not have him at Supreme Plus, I do not think he's ever going to be a top tier Dream Realm damage dealer option. The other heroes, Lily May, even Ludovic now, they're just going to outshine him. So this is the thing. If you're going to go for Harak for Dream Realm uses, you're going to need to get him to Supreme Plus. And that is 14 copies. And that is a lot. A lot of people will not have the resources to be able to do that. And if you don't, I would just hold them and wait and see. And either way, even if you're thinking and you have the 14 copies needed to go for him, I would still wait and see for at least 10 days of testing throughout all of the different Dream Realm bosses, and trying to, where people are going to be testing Harak who have like high invested into Harak, and we're going to see just in how many of the endless teams is he actually going to be meta. So that's important. And so, but basically the short of it is that his mechanics of working with Talene are not as, they actually don't have synergy. They have anti-synergy, and that's going to hold him back, because what I was imagining is that each time he devours Talene, he's going to take that attack of Talene, and that is going to count as a unit kill, and after 2 of devours of Talene, he's just going to go off. But you need to devour other units other than Talene, and then the 3rd devour can be Talene after that if you want. Okay, so that is the thing. Now, for PvP though, that is a different question. If you're going to think about him for PvP, I also think he's going to be very dominant in PvP. However, You're going to need to protect him. Either Thorn Soul Pact, Phraesto, Illusion, Damage Reduction. Okay, the Vietnam server just went under maintenance. We'll continue with the video on my account. So like I was mentioning, you're going to need to buy enough time for him to get that initial assist or kill. Because before getting that, he is not going to have like very high attack, very high HP. But after getting that first kill, he's going to take 60% of the HP and attack of the enemy unit that he kills. And that is going to really ramp him up. And he's going to immediately gain some HP, especially if he has his plus 15 exclusive equipment. So for PvP, I do think he's going to be dominant. Also, the skill which I really like for his PvP, and I've mentioned it before, is his Tidal Assault. Because this one is going to, make him invincible for the cast duration, and then when he jumps up, he knocks back enemies and deals damage. And also it's gonna reprioritize him to be attacking the weakest enemy, the lowest HP ratio enemy, which can then eventually be even devoured with his Flesh Feast. So his Flesh Feast is going to help him because it can devour enemies who are at low HP ratio, but the HP ratio needs to be low enough, otherwise he's going to devour his ally. But either way, even if he devours his ally, it's not even a bad thing sometimes. It's still going to give him one of the kills he needs to ramp himself up and try to then carry the team from that point on. But the Flesh Feast, it lasts for 12 seconds for the battle, but actually what I've seen is that he will not again cast like his Devour from the Flesh Feast until like maybe 14 or 15 seconds. So it is going to be a late basically Devour that he's going to get off with this. His ultimate ability hits really hard, and so for example, him on the energy tiles in Arena Map 5 is going to be really strong. He has an insane multiplier on his ultimate ability because not only is it dealing just base damage, there's also bonus damage for the percentage of lost health of enemies, and then also finally that HP per second damage at the end. So his ultimate will hit incredibly hard. But with the energy tile, that can work. Without the energy tile, it takes him a while to charge up his energy again, just like with the other heroes. But at least the thing is that he does have the Tidal Assault to make him invincible while casting that for the duration. In terms of his hero focus, I mean, it gives him the life drain, a bit of like healing back, but I don't think this is going to really make, like this is usually not going to be this will not make the difference you need for him to win a fight or lose a fight. It's just some additional life drain, and again, it will do better after he has more attack from getting kills. Then he's gonna be healing himself more based on the damage dealt. The Ravenous Digestion, the really interesting thing about this is actually the plus 15 exclusive equipment upgrade, which I think is going to be pretty important for PvP, because when he gets a kill or assist, he is going to recover 50% of the maximum health back, and that is a huge amount. That is like a really big deal, to be honest, and that is something which is going to give him, again, the dueling capability, and I've seen it in already some PvP replays that have been shared from the Vietnam server. He is going to do really well with this HP recovery for PvP, but for Dream Realm, it isn't really important. So basically, my overall recommendation is that for Dream Realm, I do not think he will work below Supreme Plus. Like, he can be fine, but he's not going to be a top tier option. At least for endless bosses, because it is completely going to rely on him cycling his ultimate, and even for pre-endless, you want him to cycle his ultimate. That's the number one thing. Number two, for PvP, again, without Supreme Plus, it can be usable. I think Supreme plus 15 exclusive equipment would be a good breakpoint for him. He would get all of his unlocks from his Mythic Plus ability. He would gain a big amount of stats. He won't have his energy refunded to him after 2 kills, but the thing is, after he gets 2 kills, usually now he's going to be so strong that he is just going to be soloing enemies with all of his abilities. So like for PvP, I think the Supreme Plus ability is less important, but for Dream Realm, it is essential to have that energy recovered to you, because you want to be cycling that ultimate as much as possible onto endless bosses. So that is one thing. So overall, basically the opinion on Harak is that he is eventually going to be a must-have on everyone's account. And there's no question about that, because even if he's just the top tier option for Skyclops, Dream Realm boss, still you're going to want to build him. He might be great for pre-endless bosses. He reminds me a lot of Talene, because Talene is right now only using 3 out of the 8 endless Dream Realm bosses, but still you want to build her because she is used in those 3, and you want to have like all the best Dream Realm heroes on your account. But for Harak, Supreme Plus will be important, and that means 14 copies. And for a lot of people, that will not be possible. And then, in my opinion, it is just better to wait until you have enough of 14 copies and decide at that point. Maybe there's another Hypergene Celestial that will be coming out at that point, and you can decide to go for them instead, or you can just go for Harak. But that's basically my advice, because I think if you get him even to Mythic Plus, if you get him to Supreme, you're going to be disappointed for Dream Realm. For PvP, I think he'll have his uses, and if that's what you're going for, you can go for Mythic Plus or Supreme. But for Dream Realm, you're going to need that Supreme Plus in order for him to rival like the top tier damage dealers out there, in my opinion. So yeah. I mean, we're gonna have to wait and see. It's potentially, maybe for Skyclops, he will not need the Supreme Plus, because Skyclops is just like the most catered boss to him with all of the summons. But for the other bosses, I think without Supreme Plus, you're going to be he's not going to be a top tier option. But with Supreme Plus, I think he will be in a few bosses, but he does have that problem that you're going to have to feed him some of your actual allies. You can't just keep feeding him Talene. Basically, that doesn't work. And the same thing for Thorin. Until Thorin is actually executed in the end, maybe that would work for a Devour, but yeah. So let me know, you guys can let me know your thoughts about Harak, if you'll be recruiting for him or not. Definitely if you are focused on PvP, or you have the resources to get 14 copies of him immediately, then I think no question you want to go for him. But if you haven't, like for example, built Phraesto yet, you cannot pass on Phraesto. Phraesto needs to be built. Like, Harak depends on Phraesto in his team. Unless they're going to change the mechanic between Harak and Talene, which I find doubtful, because when we look at other heroes, like for example Vala, getting that kill onto Talene, it doesn't proc her Mythic Plus ability. So basically, it's not really considered a kill or defeat when you take down Talene, because she can keep reviving herself. And so that basically, without that mechanic for Harak, he is gonna have to eat your team members, and then you're gonna need like Phraesto Illusion plus 15 exclusive equipment, and then the second eat, he can eat Mikola after that, for example. But that would be like really the optimal ordering. So Phraesto needs to be built. Rainier, we have no idea. I don't know how Rainier is going to do, especially like people are thinking about Ludovic, because now Ludovic is your carry for Dream Realm with the skill power this season. Like, Rainier swap Ludovic into the front line with Mikola haste buffing him. That is going to be strong. That's going to reduce the cooldown of his active skill 1 ability, which has an insane HP per second burn damage thanks to the skill power. So basically, Rainier is still, in my opinion, not going to be a pass. You're still going to want to get Mythic Plus Rainier. And then you're going to need to get Supreme Phraesto at least. And then after that, it can be, yeah, you can decide Talene, Harak, but honestly, it's looking like Talene is still going to be the third priority. But then after that, it can be Harak. Basically, Scarlita is now off the she has been knocked off the field. In terms of options, in my opinion, you should be going for Harak before Scarlita, because Scarlita is purely PvP, no Dream Realm use. Maybe in future seasons she will have some use though, so that's something to keep in mind. And Harak is PvP and Dream Realm, and you'll always want to go for those heroes instead. But that being said, Scarlita is still a great PvP hero. So for example, if you built her, like I've also built her, I feel a little bit sad. Especially because I have Paragon 2 Scarlita, which, like, I like her. I think she helped me earlier on, but, like, to be honest, like, I would have liked to redistribute that into different things. And I would like to have Harak rather than Scarlita, at least for this season. But yeah, if you have Scarlita built, don't worry about it, because she will always be a good PvP hero. And even, for example, in Harak teams, if we're talking about running Phraesto in Harak or Thorin in Harak, I would want to have Scarlita in that team as well to protect him further. And I think Scarlita still is a great option for Harak type teams. Like for example, if you have Phraesto, Harak, Damien, Scarlita, and then one other hero which is difficult to remove, like Lily May. Scarlita is still going to come down having enough surviving allies and has that kill threat. And she can protect Harak while she's in the air. So I still think that Scarlita is going to be good for PvP. However, she's just not good for Dream Realm, and Harak is this season, at least for Skyclops. And so that's why like people have some regrets if they've gone for Scarlita. But anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video. And until then, everyone, peace out for now, and thank you for watching.